Good morning, everyone. We will wait for 1 more minute and then we will start.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning. Yes, so good morning, everyone. We will start with the session. Before proceeding with the today's topic, yesterday we just take a brief look on what we had discussed yesterday. Yesterday we had discussed about board charter. What is board charter? And what are the points to be included in an organization's board charter? That we had discussed. Plus, we had discussed how a board meeting or how a committee appointed under board, how their meetings are convened, what are the legalities involved in the meeting, how notice is to be sent, how many days before the meeting notice are supposed to be sent to the registered address of the directors or committee members that we had discussed. We had also discussed how the proceedings about the quorum. We had discussed about how the attendance registers are to be prepared. And we had also discussed about recording of proceedings of committee meetings. Under that, that was the last point where we stopped or where time was up and we could not complete that recording of proceedings of committee meetings. So we will start from that only. So we had yesterday discussed that attendance registers are to be maintained by the organization of the board meetings as well as of the various committees which are appointed by the board. Attendance are to be duly filled as per the norms given under Companies Act. And these registers, it is expected by law that these registers are to be preserved for a period of 8 years. After 8 years, with the due approval of the company's board of directors, these uh, record of attendance or attendance register can be discarded. So that we had discussed yesterday. Now, when we talk about the proceedings or minutes of meeting, we had discussed that minutes of meeting means whatever agenda points are taken up for discussion by the board of directors or by the committees appointed by the board of directors, those agenda points are to be included in the minutes of meeting or proceedings of that particular meeting. Now, when we talk about minutes of meeting, it should include not only the agenda points, but also should include the discussions in brief about on those agenda points. That what were the discussions? Who was the director involved in the discussion when take agenda point number 1 was taken up for discussion? Who was discussing on, or who were discussing on agenda point number 2, agenda point number 3, and so on. So it should include in brief about the agenda points and about the discussions that had taken place on the agenda points. It should also include if any decision has been taken and how that decision has been taken. Whether the decision has been taken by consensus. Consensus means that all the directors have agreed to that particular decision, or the decision is taken by majority of the directors. So if any decisions are taken, that is to be noted in the proceedings or minutes of meeting of that particular meeting, as well as the decision and how the decision has been taken. So everything has to be put in black and white, that is, it is to be in written form. As the technology has changed, the amendment has been made. Earlier, it was expected that it has to be in physical form only, that is hard copy only. But now it can be made either in hard copy or in soft copy, that is in electronic form. You can save the minutes of meeting on the soft copy itself in the computer. Now, when we talk about that for how many years these proceedings or minutes of meeting are to be saved, when we compare it with the attendance register, it is expected that these minutes of meeting are to be saved permanently. So for 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, no date has been fixed. What is expected is that whatever decision has been taken and whatever decision has come in the proceedings or minutes of the meeting of that particular meeting of board or of the committee are to be preserved, are to be saved permanently. That is the basic difference between when we talk about saving the attendance records and saving the minutes of meeting records. Now, in attendance record, only attendance is mentioned, that following directors were present on this particular date, at this particular time, at this particular place, and the meeting took place, agenda, all these information, only this information is required to be mentioned in attendance register. But when we talk about the registers which are maintained for minutes of meeting, not only the agenda, not only the points which are discussed, not only the decisions which are taken to be included, but it also includes how many directors were present, time of the meeting, place of the meeting, everything. Here also, we need to record, we need to save all these details. So attendance registers are to be preserved for 8 years, but the registers but the soft copy or electronic form of a minute of meeting or proceedings of a particular meeting are to be saved permanently. And again, as attendance is to be signed by each and every director, the minutes of meeting is to be signed and initialed by the chairman of that particular board of, or if it is a committee meeting, chairman of that particular committee. So this is regarding the rules of proceeding, recording the proceedings of the committee meetings or the board of directors meeting. Now we will move on to the next topic of unit number 2, which is related to training and development of board of directors. In human resource management, we had discussed the concept of training and development in the second semester. So we will not be discussing now what is training and what is development. We will not be taking up the difference between these two terms. We will directly be proceeding to whether training and development is required at the highest level. When we are talking about that 67 to 70% of the directors who are part of the board of directors are independent directors. We had also discussed that these independent directors are experts in their field. These independent directors have vast knowledge and expertise, and only because of their skills, because of their knowledge, because of their expertise, they are part of the board. When such experts are part of the board, is there any requirement for training these experts? So the answer is yes, training is required and training is beneficial for these experts also. So what type of training can be arranged for these experts, because they are not newcomer, they are not new to the business. So their training requirements or their trainings are much more different from the training requirement or needs of a new employee of the organization, or a middle level or lower level employee of the organization. So first, it is expected that when a new director is involved, or when new directors are nominated or they are appointed in the board, before they start with the first board meeting, a training should be arranged for them, and that particular training can be called as induction training. Now we all know what induction training is. So induction training, in brief, we can say it's a training which is given to the new employees of the organization. So here they are new directors of the board. So board of directors, they should arrange a induction training for these new directors who will be joining the board before they start their actual functioning at the board. So in induction training, these directors are given the information about the company, about the practices of the company, about the culture of the company, about the ethics of the company, about the values of the company, about the vision and mission of the company, about the business of the company, as well as they are also given information related to their role and responsibility as a director in a committee or as a director in the board of directors of the company. So this is arranged in the induction training for a new director. So a person who is coming from outside, although he is expert in his or her field, but may not be aware of the company culture, may not be aware of the company ethics which it is following, may not be aware of the values of the company. So make them aware. It is essential for the board of directors to arrange a induction training for these particular independent directors, we can say. So that is called as arranging the induction training. Now, once the induction training is over, the second step is to identify training needs, if any, of the newly appointed directors. Whether they require any sort of training in other field. If they require, that type of training can be arranged by the organization for these new directors. For example, if the organization is having a business in IT industry and the newly appointed director is an expert in IT field, but that director lacks knowledge in the interpretation of balance sheet. So that particular director can be given a training program on how to interpret easily a balance sheet of the company, because it is expected that all the board members should be aware of the financial status of the company, as well as it is not expected that they should be expert in the interpretation, but it is expected that all the directors of the board of directors should be able to interpret whether the company is in profit, whether it is in loss. If in loss, why the company is in loss. They should be able to interpret it. And this will happen in the second step, when identification of training needs will be done. So that is the second step of training of the directors or of the board members. Now, the third point says that the directors should be empowered by the board with required skills. So apart from, as we had discussed, that training needs, so if any skills are required to do a particular job, what those skills are. Now, if suppose we can talk about leadership skills, we can talk about interpersonal communication skills, we can talk about conflict resolution skills. Now, everyone does not have these particular skills. Now, training can be arranged to incorporate, to provide these type of skills to the individual directors. So that comes in the third point, to empower or equip the directors of the board. Now, the next point says, or point number fourth is, it promotes, if we are training the board of directors, then it promotes an environment which is conducive or which is favorable, which is positive to learning and development. And if it happens, it gives a message or it serves as a role model for the other employees of the corporation. Sometimes what happens, the employees who are at the middle level of the organization or who are above the middle level of the organization, they start believing that though they know everything and there is no scope for their further development. At this particular time, these officials start resisting the new training programs. Now, if the company is arranging training program for the highest level officials or highest level people or directors of the company, then it becomes a role model for middle level employees or for the upper level employees of the organization. They also start thinking, they also start believing, when training can be imparted to the highest position of the organization, then yes, if they are also given training, it will be beneficial for them also. So that conveys a better environment to the employees of the company. And fifth and the last and most important point is to monitor and evaluate the performance of the directors or of the training program, we can say. Now, once an induction has been given to the newly directors, once their trainings, their needs were identified, based on their needs, training programs were arranged. The last and foremost thing is that whether these training programs which were identified for a particular director and which were given to the particular directors, whether they were beneficial or not. If after giving a training on how to easily interpret balance sheet of various companies, if a director is able to read the balance sheet of a particular company, then we can say that yes, the training program is beneficial or training program is successful. But after giving a training program on this particular area of reading the balance sheet, if still the director is unable to read the balance sheet effectively, then we can say that there are certain loopholes in the training program. So last and most important point is to monitor or to evaluate or to review the training program of the board of directors or of the directors. So that is the last point. Now, once the training is over, it is expected that evaluation should take place. If there is no evaluation and only training, then we will not be able to make out whether the training was successful or not. Very simple fundamental rule is that we will come to know about the success of training only through the results of the training or through the evaluation of the training. Now, the same particular simple concept is applied at the highest level also. It is expected that the evaluation of performance of each and every director as well as the entire board is to be done and is to be prepared, and it's to be shared with the board as well as with the at the highest level with the board itself. Now, when we talk about evaluation, it is not as per the wish of the company, that if the company feels, then only it will do the evaluation of performance of the directors. And if they feel that there is no necessity to evaluate the performance of the directors, they will skip this evaluation part. In the clause 49 of the Companies Act 2013, it is mentioned very clearly that each and every company has to do a evaluation of performance of its board as well as performance of its committees and its individual directors. They have also laid down how this evaluation is to be done, and based on the evaluation only, based on the performance evaluation only, the board of directors should decide whether to continue a particular independent director or not. If he is performing well, yes, his services can be continued. If he is not performing well or as per the standards set by the company or by the board of directors, then his tenure is to be or we can say his tenure is to be cancelled, or he should be removed from the position of director and new director should be appointed on his place. So that is the importance of evaluation of performance. Now, how this evaluation is done, that we will be discussing, that how each director's evaluation is done, that we will discuss first, and how the board evaluation is done, then we will be discussing later on. So how an individual director's evaluation is done. When we talk about individual director, if 15 directors are there in the board of directors, and in that particular situation, 14 directors will form a team and they will do a performance evaluation of the 15th director. Once the performance evaluation of 15th director is over, then he will be part of that particular evaluation committee, and another director will be taken up for his or her performance evaluation. So entire board is supposed to evaluate the performance of the individual director. So how the director's evaluation is taken place, that we will be discussing. First, every individual director is given a evaluation sheet where he or she is expected to appropriately rate himself or herself as per the previous performance, his or her previous performance. Now here ratings are to be given, and rating range starts from 1 point to 5 point. If a director is giving himself or herself 5 points, that means that he or she is a very good performer. And if 1 or 2 rating is given, then we can say that they were not good performer in a particular area. So ratings are to be given. First rating is individual, that is called as self evaluation, and later on the entire board will do the evaluation. Both the evaluation will be tabled at the board of directors, and they will jointly take a decision on the performance evaluation of the individual director. Now we have discussed that 5 points are to be there, rating points. 1 rating point means poor performance, and 5 rating point means the best performance. Now what these ratings are to be given for, that what are the points which will be included on which these ratings can be given by the individual director when he or she is doing self appraisal or self evaluation, and to the board when they will be doing the evaluation of this particular director. Now these points, some of the important points we will be discussing, what these points can be included in the evaluation sheet. Point number 1 can be whether the director holds ethical standards of honesty required by the organization or by the company. Now, this is a particular point, or we can say a statement. On this statement, director has to rate himself or herself, as well as the board will be rating. Now, director may rate himself as 5, best performer, but the same evaluation should be reflected by the board also. Board may think that no, he was not honest towards his work. So board may give him 1 or 2 marks. And later on, when the discussions will take place at the board meeting, with the help of the related information or evidences, the board can decide whether 5 point which he has given to himself is correct, or whether the 2 points given by the board to him on this particular statement is correct. The decision of the board will be fine. Now the second statement can be whether the director has financial knowledge or financial accounting knowledge or skills. Here also again the same thing will be applied. One, self appraisal, and second is board evaluation. Then next statement can be whether the director has knowledge of organization's business. Here also he can rate himself, as well as the rating will be given by the board. Next statement can be how actively and successfully the director refresh his or her knowledge in the related field. If he is from IT, how often he is updating his knowledge. Because if a director is updating his knowledge, automatically it will get reflected in the performance of the organization and in the performance of the particular director. But if he is not able to update his knowledge, he will not be able to motivate others to update their knowledge, because he is a role model for the organization. He is there as an expert director, as an independent director, and the organization is looking towards him as a role model. If he is updating himself, definitely they will also feel that at this level, if this particular director can update himself very so oftenly, then yes, we should also regularly update ourselves. So this statement again can be rated by the director, can be rated by the board also. Next is how well the director is prepared about the board or committee meetings. How well he is prepared, how well he is putting forth his views or suggestions, and how actively he is participating in the board. Now, actively participating in the board or say putting forth his suggestions or views in the board, it doesn't mean that a person should be having an excellent communication skill or a very good command over English language. It is expected that the person is presenting his views which are based on certain authentic information. Then only we can say that the person or the director is actively participating. Only that the director is very fluent in English, and from the rest of the director, that is why he is able to say put forth his suggestions, because others are not very comfortable with English. That is not the criteria. Here the criteria is that whatever views he is putting forth when they are making a decision at the board meeting, whether his views are backed by authentic information or evidences or proofs. So that is the criteria. Here again, the same type of evaluation will be done. Whether he actively participates in the board or committee meeting or not, he is director at the board and he is director in one committee also. So here evaluation can be done on the basis that okay, he is director at two places, but whether he is giving enough time to both the committee as well as the board. If he is giving, then ratings can be better. If he is not giving time, or he is often absentee from the board meeting or from the committee meeting, then less rating can be given to the person. Now, next statement can be whether the director
Excuse me, sir.
listen to others' views. Yes, Mel.
Sir, can you repeat this, sir? I did not get that.
Which one?
Sir, there's a director.
Uh,
He
previous point
can.
you are talking about. Previous
Yes,
point.
yes, 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 sir.
So whether the director, suppose if one independent director is part of the board of director also, and he is part of one committee also. It can be a nomination committee, it can be a CSR committee, or it can be some another committee. So whether the director is punctual in attending the meetings at the board of directors as well as the meeting at the committee level also. That on that basis, again, evaluation can be done. If he is punctual, if he is attending most of the meeting at the board level as well as at the committee level, then we can then the ratings can be better for this particular director. Otherwise rating will be less for this particular director. Now one more statement. Now we are talking about these particular statement. It is not expected that it should be as it is when we are evaluating the performance of board of directors of IT industry, of manufacturing industry, or pharma industry, or other type of industry. The statements can vary, but these are just guidelines provided by the Companies Act. That these are the guidelines, and on the basis of these guidelines, you can prepare your evaluation sheet. Every organization is free to prepare its own evaluation sheet. Only thing is that that evaluation sheet should be based on these guidelines. It should not indicate any partiality towards any director. It should be impartial. Now, one more important point which can be included in the evaluation of performance of directors is whether the director listens to others' view or not. Again, very important point. Earlier, we were discussing whether he is able to convince other with his views, or whether he is able to table good points related to the benefit of the company. How actively he is participating, that we had discussed. Similarly, whether he is listening to others' views or not. This is again very important. Otherwise, what will happen? If the director is, say, he is very firm on whatever his views are, whatever my views are. Suppose he is saying that I am an expert in the IT field. I have an experience of say 40 years, and I have been in the board of directors of say 10 companies or more than 10 companies. So whatever my views, he is trying to push his views to others directors also. Again, this particular type of behavior is also not expected, because the board expects that it has to be a meaningful deliberation, thoughtful deliberation. Deliberation says discussion. It is not forcing of someone's view which can be converted into a decision. It is a deliberation, meaningful thought which can be discussed with the others at this particular level of meeting. Now here, whether the director listens to the others' view or not, he is very, say, effective in forwarding his views. But if he is not very effective in listening to others' view, here his evaluation sheet can be given less rating. And the evaluation, when we talk about effectiveness or activeness, it can be given more ratings. So these are next important statement. Many statements are there. We have just selectively we are discussing. Now, one more important statement which I have just come across is whether or how cordial is the relationship of the director with the board of directors and with the committees. How cordial? Cordial means smooth, harmonious.